How about a breast-filled maid cafe?
Denied.
The press rejected my suggestion with a tired sigh. During our after-school club activities, we were trying to work out what we would do for our Academy Festival. It was a busy time for all of us right now, but it was still best if we decided an idea sooner rather than later. After all, today was the only day we were allowed to attend school until this whole Loki thing was over. Naturally, I had suggested a maid cafe, and a breast-themed one at that. If our two great ladies, Riaz and Akeno, took the helm, we would probably become the most popular and successful event at the whole celebration. But if you did that, other guys would be able to see presents on Akeno's chest. You realize that, don't you? Kiba's comment had left me flabbergasted. He was right. Other guys would be able to visually devour the presents in Akeno's breasts. That wouldn't do it all. I was the only one that had the right to ogle them. You're right. Then I guess a breast-themed haunted house would be out of the question as well.
You were considering that too, you sick freak?
Konako was aghast at my next failed suggestion. As if to hammer home my regret, the press breathed another heavy exhale.
Look, Issei, a naughty theme like that would certainly help us score points, but the student council, let alone the teaching staff, simply wouldn't allow it.
She was right. But in that case, what could we do? The same as last year? The press had already objected to that idea, saying that she didn't want to repeat the same thing twice in a row. Come to think of it, other clubs have maid cafes anyway. Well, if we did one, ours would definitely be the best. The girls in our club was simply the highest of level. Nonetheless, the president didn't want any kind of copies, so that was right out. Rias went around asking all the club members, but no one had any fresh ideas. No one had mentioned anything remotely related to the occult research. Rather, the main topics revolved around the two great ladies. Our adorable petite cat girl, Konako, our beautiful second-year church maiden trio comprising of Azia, Zenobia, and Irina, Gasper, who was particularly popular among a certain subset of guys, and the Academy's pretty boy idol, Kiba. Lastly, there was me, the perverted sex fiend infamous throughout the school. Excluding myself, everyone had popularity on their side. It made me want to break down in tears. Wait a minute. Setting Kiba and me aside, everyone else here was popular with guys. Even Gasper was widely regarded as basically a girl. I had heard that he hung around with the girls all the time during and between classes. Apparently, they were worried that something might happen to Gasper if he was suddenly thrown into a group of guys, so they had decided to protect him. What about the Occult Research Club popularity contest? We could find out which of the girls people liked the most. I muttered thoughtlessly. At this, the female club members all exchanged glances.
I do wonder which of the two great ladies is more beloved,
Gasper added quietly. Rias and Akeno stared each other down.
Me, of course.
They both cried out. They were both smiling, but had intimidating auras about them.
Oh, did you say something, President? That's my line, Akeno. Did you just say something that I couldn't afford to let slide?
I was glad to see that Akeno was mostly back to her regular self, and yet, she was terrifying. Our two great ladies were moments away from launching into another battle. And so, with the two of them beginning a quarrel, our meeting came to a close. We would have to finish these discussions at a later date. Would we really be able to decide what to do for the Academy Festival before our trip? Azazel, our supervising teacher, had been drinking tea in the corner of the club room the whole time. He had decided to supervise our activities for once, but he spent the whole time staring at the setting sun. It's already dusk, he mumbled. At this rate, our faces all turned stern. Right. In that case, it was almost time for our fight with Loki. The school bell rang out, signaling the end of the club activities for the day. It's still too early for Ragnarok. Alright, everyone, let's head out. Alright, everyone, let's go all out. Okay, we shouted in unison. The sun had set, and the hour of our confrontation had arrived. We were waiting on a rooftop of a high-rise luxury hotel where Odin had been in his conference with the Japanese gods. Likely, because we were so up high, the wind was intense, buffeting all around us. The sea tree family was laying in wait, positioned across the rooftop. I could make out a small figure standing in the distance. Saji had said that he would be a little late. Just what kind of special training had he been subjected to? Saji, whatever happens, please don't wait until after the battle to show up. Azazel had been helping mediate the conference, so he was inside with Odin. In his place, Barkio was waiting on standby with us up on the roof. Rosvice had joined us too, ready for combat in her full battle armor. Tani was soaring up above the sky. Under normal circumstances, a stray passerby might have seen him and caused a commotion, so he was using some kind of magic to conceal his presence from regular humans. Vali and the others were also stationed nearby. "It's time," the press murmured, glancing at her watch. The epic-making discussions had begun inside the hotel. Now all that was left was to wait for that no-good Loki to show his face. What would we do if he didn't come as promised? For all we knew, he could have disguised himself to get close to Odin. Heck, he could already be inside the hotel. "No cheap tricks. I'm impressed." Vali's lips curled into a grin. Had something just happened? Before I had the chance to wonder, the sky above began to warp, and a giant hole opened in midair. Loki descended before us with a huge ashen wolf, Fenrir. They wasted no time launching a head-on assault. "Targets affirmed. Operation underway." Barco stayed into his communications earpiece as the gigantic barrier type magic circle expanded around the hotel. The chairwoman and the other members of the Sea Tree Familia activated their own oversized teleportation array to teleport us, Loki, and Fenrir to the chosen battlefield. Loki had clearly sensed what was going on, but he showed no signs of resistance, merely letting out a dauntless bellow of laughter. The light enveloped us. When I opened my eyes, we were in a large, open space. Steep rock walls surrounded us. It certainly did look like an old quarry. There was nothing to suggest that it had been used recently. I checked to make sure the other familiar members had made it around safely. Starting with the Prez and counting all the way to Irina. Barkio and Rosvice were there too. Vali and the members of his team had been transported to a spot a short distance away. Before me stood Loki and Fenrir. No sooner did I confirm that than I initiated my countdown for my balance breaker. "Not bothering with escape?" the Prez inquired, clear sarcastic. "There is no need to flee. You would try to stop me anyway. So it is the easiest for me to finish you all here before returning to the hotel. It's just a matter of timing. Either way, I will ensure that Onan does not continue with his mad plans." "That's dangerous thinking," Barkel spat. "You're the ones thinking dangerously. An alliance among the 3 different mythological powers, to begin with. It was your biblical 3 great powers joining hands that set all this awry. Clearly, discussions with you is meaningless." With that, Barco's hands began to crackle with holy lightning, as 10 black wings unfurled from his back. My countdown was finished too. I used promotion and activated my balance breaker as quickly as I could. "Welsh Dragon, balance breaker!" With a brilliant crimson burst, the powers of the Red Dragon Emperor solidified into a full-body suit of armor. I could feel my own energy surging. "Vanishing Dragon, balance breaker!" Vali also stepped out in a suit of glimmering alabaster armor. The 2 of us approached our target at the same time. Loki looked overjoyed. "Wonderful! The 2 heavenly dragons are teaming up to defeat me. I've never been this excited." Vali wasted no time, launching at high speed towards Loki. At the same time, I activated my propulsion unit on my back. Vali would rush him from the air while I did so from the ground. "A joint strike by the red and white. Am I the first ever to fight you both like this?" Loki, obviously ecstatic, deployed a wide range of defensive magic circles, enough to cover his entire body. Or so I thought, but these magic circles swiftly transformed into a multi-layered shroud of enhanced light, which he then fired at us. It was a super efficient homing attack, Several of the beams raced towards Vali, who was still weaving through the air. Dozens more was heading towards me too. Vali spun through the sky like an acrobat, evading every oncoming shot. I decided to push through, paying no heed to any of them that reached me. Several of Loki's rays struck my body, but I couldn't endure that much. I sped forward, closing the distance to that wicked god. I concentrated my strength into my right fist, rushing in just above the ground at maximum acceleration towards the Loki. My recently acquired dragon wings unfurled from my back. Boost! 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 The magic circle surrounding Loki crumbled with an audible smash. With our opponent's shield out of the way, Vali emitted an insane mass of demonic energy as he prepared his attack. Something that was clearly not a regular ability began to gather in his hand. Is this one of the Norse techniques that he's recently picked up? Here's my opening move. He was strafing the area. I would have to fall back at once. Talk about dangerous. That bastard Vali hadn't waited so much of a second after had broken through Loki's defenses before striking. His single attack engulfed a full third of the abandoned quarry. It was absolutely insane. When it finally came to a stop, there was only a deep crater where Loki had once stood. Vali must have limited range of his power, but even so, that destructive force was mind-boggling. Once again, I was forced to realize just how abnormal my rival was. Laughter from up overhead. Hurriedly, looking towards the sky, I spotted Loki floating midair. His robe was tattered in a few places, but apart from that, he looked unscathed. How could he be unharmed after an attack like that? Gods were really formidable. That meant it was time for my secret weapon. I reached for the hammer strapped to my waist, the replica Mjolnir, pouring my demonic energy into it so it grew to optimal size. I lifted it up over my head and swung it down at Loki. It must have caught his attention because I saw his eye twitch. Mjolnir? No, a replica. Copy or no, you're wielding a dangerous weapon there. Odin, just how far are you willing to go to ensure your meeting is a success? Judging from his reaction, Loki was more upset at Odin for letting me wield his weapon than at me for bringing it down on him. In any other situation, the hammer would be too heavy for me to lift, but in my balance breaker state, I was able to manage. As I swung, I activated my propulsion unit on the back and braced myself. I shot towards Loki at blinding pace. Come on, I need it now. Lightning strong enough to fell a god. With that prayer, I let loose. Loki moved out of the way. The impact gouged a huge hole into the ground, but the expecting lightning was nowhere to be seen. What had gone wrong? Wasn't this hammer supposed to release electricity strong enough to fry a deity? I tried again and again, but each time was the same as the first. Nothing at all. Is it defected? Loki scoffed at my miserable sight. How unfortunate. That hammer could only be used by one graced with strength and purity of heart. Your heart is surely wicked. That is why it won't respond to you. They say that those who could wield Mjolnir, it is supposed to be light as a feather. I'm guessing that for you, it's far from weightless, no? Seriously? A wicked heart? Yeah, I guess I can see what he means. If you hadn't noticed yet, I had a lecherous mind. Simply put, the breast dragon couldn't use this weapon. Time for me to get serious. Loki raised a finger, and with that gesture, Fenrir, who had been waiting obediently all this time, stepped forward. Behold Fenrir, whose fangs can rend the flesh of gods. A single bite would be enough to utterly destroy you. Do you think yourselves capable of defeating him? Give it your best effort then. Loki motioned once more to Fenrir. However, that was the moment the press raised a hand. Kuroka laughed as magical rays began to take shape around her. A huge, thick chain rose from the ground. It was Gleipnir. We were fortunate to have received it earlier than anticipated, but it was all but impossible to carry. Kuroka had hidden it away in her old private domain. Tanin and Barkio seized Gleipnir from either end, with the other club members and Vali's team taking place behind. Together, they hurled the chain at Fenrir. How futile. I took precautions against Glepnir long ago. Heedless of Loki's confident laughter, the enchanted chain, its magic boosted by the Dark Elf's magic, wrapped around Fenrir as though it possessed a mind of its own. The giant wolf let out an ear-rending howl that echoed throughout the abandoned quarry. Fenrir captured, Barkio stated curtly through his earpiece as he confirmed the target had indeed been rendered immobile. Yes, we stopped Fenrir. Way to go, everyone. It had gone exactly to plan. Those Dark Elves have done one heck of a job. With Fenrir held down, the others should have been more than capable of defeating him. Thus, all that remained was for me to deal with Loki. I would have expected that evil god to be on the verge of losing his patience now that we had taken care of his pet. But a pleased expression pasted on his face. Was he still confident of victory? I watched cautiously as he raised his arm into the air. They might not be as high spec, but even so. The air on either side of him began to distort. What now? Just what was he? Something began to emerge through the airborne distortion. Ashen-colored fur, razor-sharp claws, cold, emotionless eyes, and two gaping maws. Skull, Hatsi. The creatures tilted their heads to the heavens in response to Loki's voice. The clouds shrouding the night sky were blown away, revealing a full moon. Beneath its pale glow stood two more wolves. More Fenrirs. How could it be? How? Isn't there only supposed to be one? I wasn't the only one astonished by this development. Shock was written large on everyone else's faces too. Except Vali, of course. He looked rather pleased. With two additional Fenrirs waiting on his command, Loki called out, I transformed a troll woman of the Ironwood into a wolf, and had her breed with Fenrir. The result was these two. They aren't quite as formidable as their father, but their fangs are extremely potent nonetheless. I'm sure they're easily enough to slay a god, let alone you. So, Fenrir had children. How was I supposed to have known that? Midgardsormr hadn't mentioned it. Maybe he wasn't aware? This was bad. Loki turned to the two new Fenrirs. Go, Skull and Hatsi. Rend those who dared capture your father. The two wolves raced forward like wind. One of them charged at my friends, while the other made for Team Vali. We didn't have any more chains. We had used our only one to subdue Fenrir.
A mere lowly dog.
Tani let loose with his fire breath. As expected of a Dragon King, those roiling flames quickly enveloped the junior Fenrir. However, the wolf continued forward. He had certainly taken damage, but he hadn't even flinched in the slightest. We would have to defeat them both head-on. As I glanced towards my allies, Loki began to unleash a fresh wave of overpowered magic attacks. I managed to dodge the oncoming assault by a hair's breadth, but one shot still carved cleanly through a part of my armor. Uh-oh, the direct hit would spell disaster. Standing up to a god was never going to be easy, but cutting into my boosted gear scale mail was just unfair. I won't be able to use my halving powers properly against a divine being. We'll have to wear him down, a fraction at a time. Vali shouted. He loosed a volley of Norse magic techniques from both hands. Loki tried to deflect them with his own powers, but proved unable to stop them all. Unfortunately, those few that did connect with him didn't seem to bother him much at all. I commend you, White Dragon Emperor. You've taught yourself Norse magic, and in so little time, no less. Regrettably. Loki hurled another one of those massive waves of power that scintillated in all the colors of the rainbow. Vali readied himself to meet it, expanding his wings of light stretching out from his back.
Divide! Divide! Divide!
Having activated his divine dividing, he continued to reduce the potency of Loki's attack. I can still have the strength of an attack without coming into direct contact with it, but it is taking a lot out of me. Was that a ranged halving technique? One that, even if not effective against Loki himself, could still be used against his attacks? Evidently, Vali was developing new abilities of his own. Terrifying. Nonetheless, some of those attacks managed to break through, striking Vali's armor. Pieces of the suit cracked and shattered, but Vali hurriedly restored them. Go!
Boost! 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 Boost!
With no time to waste, I unleashed a humongous dragon shot aimed squarely at Loki. If the hammer was no good, maybe an attack like this would do something. Loki met it head on, his bold expression unflinching. Then he sent my attack racing towards Vali. It sped towards him rapidly, but fortunately, he evaded. The white dragon boasts well-honored strength, while the red dragon emperor attacks with tremendous energy. Though devoid of technique or skill, you aren't to be underestimated, I see. Impressive. An attack filled with raw spirit. Oh, how it resonates within me. Just how much of your will did you pour into that last one? Deflecting my attack had seemingly taken more out of Loki than his tone suggested, because his hands were spasming a little. Were we truly outmatched here? No way could I have done it alone, but with Vali, I still had a chance. So long as I had some energy left, I could transfer it to him or even one of my other allies. Then, I recalled a warning I received, that if I were to focus on support, Loki would concentrate his attention on my friends instead. You, White Dragon Emperor, you're quick on your feet. Thus, I believe I'll focus on the Red Dragon Emperor. It would be a nuisance if you were to transfer that immense power of yours to someone else. Crushing you first seems the best. Damn, he knew what I was thinking. Loki pointed his arm at me to indicate I was his first target. How dare you ignore me? Vali rocketed in, positioning himself behind Loki as he readied an attack. Go for it. Vali had gathered a titanic mass of demonic power into his hands. Not even Loki should have been capable of stopping it. One of the Fenrirs caught Vali in his maw. Blood shot out from Vali's mouth. Those fangs carved through his silver armor with ease, digging straight into his flesh. The junior Fenrir's jaws grew stained with crimson. Wait, that isn't the junior Fenrir. It's the parent. What's he doing here? How did he free himself in the chain? I frantically looked around and saw that the two junior Fenrirs was holding Glepnir between their teeth. They had only been pretending to fight the others. Their real goal was to release their father. It looks like I crushed the white dragon first after all. Faultly. I restored the replica Mjolnir to its original size before rushing after Fenrir to free Vali from his jaw. This hadn't gone at all as planned. Vali, if you drop here, the plan will be up in smoke. Sorry about this, but we need your strength right now. Fenrir regarded me casually, merely turning to meet me head on. He wasn't scared of me at all. You damn mongrel! I lashed out with a punch to his nose. At the same time, Fenrir cleaved through the air with a clawed paw. It tore through my skin with ease. Ah! Blood spattered from my nose and stomach. This was bad. If Vali died here and I was knocked out of the fight too,
I won't let you take them.
Tanine swooped down to back us up, breathing a massive ball of fire. The heat was incredible. Fenrir didn't give any ground, however. It was a showdown between two real-life monsters. They were almost identical in size, but the dragon clearly appeared to be the stronger of the two. A piercing cry sounded, pushing Tanine's flames aside and shaking the whole battlefield. I couldn't believe it. That wolf could seriously dispel an attack from the Dragon King so easily. In a flash, Fenrir vanished from view. I could hear the sound of something being torn. Tanine screamed in agony. The old dragon was being rent apart. His blood stained the ground. That wolf had moved at incredible speed, slashing the Dragon King with its claws. What was I supposed to do? A legendary dragon, my mighty and imposing mentor, was being mercilessly attacked. My stomach contorted in frustration. I thought dragons were supposed to be the strongest of beings, prouder and more formidable than anything else. Yet that ashen gray wolf had brought that belief crashing down. Still coughing up blood, Tanine broke something in his mouth near his back teeth, then swallowed it. With a burst of smoke, his wounds vanished. He had used a vial of phoenix tears. We had been provided with some in preparation for this battle. I, too, pulled a vial from my waist, sprinkling on my wounds. Steam rose up from my skin as tears met my injuries. That was close. Fenrir's claws had dug deep into my flesh. Talk about tremendous power. My Red Dragon Emperor's scale mail was nothing compared to that. No wonder that creature had crushed Vali's armor and shredded Tanine's body without trouble. Everything about Fenrir, his fangs, his claws, his every attack, was off the charts. How could that creature possibly overcome 3 legendary dragons so effortlessly? That wolf was totally unfair. Vali and I, the vanguard of our force, had each received several vials of phoenix tears. Fortunately, as Fenrir was still gripping Vali in his mouth, it would be useless to use any on him. First, I would have to get the wolf to release him. There was no winning in a head-on fight with Fenrir. The wolf had to be at least as strong as Drake in its original form. I couldn't draw on Drake's full power though, so any fight would be risky. What about my juggernaut drive? I thought. That might work, but I would definitely end up dying. Still, if worst came to worst, I might just have to do that. I would have to be ready. It was certainly preferable to letting the Prez, Azia, and all the others get killed. At this rate, we would end up exhausting our supplies of phoenix tears. And we still needed to save Vali. Perhaps I'll let you face these creatures as well, Loki mused. A shadow expanded beneath his feet, and multiple giant snakes emerged. Worst of all, I recognized their forms. Sure, they were considerably smaller in size, but there was no mistaking them.
Mass-produced Midgardsormr clones?
Tanine spat in disgust. He was right. They were the spitting image of the Dragon King Midgardsormr. Although they were no bigger than Tanine, Loki had called up 5 of them. The mass-produced dragons began to breathe columns of fire.
Not if I can help it.
Tanine brushed those flames aside with his own scorching breath. Real-life dragons packed an incredible punch. Still, the situation was quickly going from bad to worse. My allies weren't ready to call it quits yet, though.
Damn you.
We'll be done for if we stick to defense. Everyone, attack!
That was Biko, followed by the Prez. Both Team Vali and the Grimir family were engulfed in a bitter battle to the death with the 2 junior Fenrirs.
Holy lightning.
Barku unleashed an electric volley at least 10 times stronger than anything I've ever seen Akeno use. But even so, the 2 Fenrir spawn lashed out again, completely unfazed. They must have sustained considerable damage by now, but their battle fervor looked to override everything else.
All my training with the Red Dragon Emperor wasn't just for show.
Kiba cried out, dashing around the field at breakneck speed, as he followed the 2 junior Fenrir's movements before bringing down a holy demon sword on one of them. His blade stabbed through the creature's head, sending blood flying. Whoa, way to go, Kiba! Zenobia, who tried to land a strike of her own, was thrown backward by the junior Fenrir's counterattack. Blood spewed from her wound.
Zenobia!
Irina cried out, using one of the vials of phoenix tears on her. No sooner had she done so than she summoned a spear of light. That kind of weapon wouldn't deal fatal damage, but it was enough to buy a brief respite. The phoenix tears instantly mended Zenobia's wounds, and she stood there with Durandal and Ascalon ready.
Gasper, blind him. Take away his vision. Konako, take advantage of the chance to use their sage magic on him. Target anywhere you can.
The Prez instructed. With that, Gasper's body transformed into a swarm of clicking bats, quickly gathering around the child Fenrir's face and obstructing his vision. Nice move, Gasper.
I'll disrupt his ki, even if only a little,
Konako said, using that window to ensure a punch found purchase. It was only a strike to the leg, but it appeared to be enough. A blow imbued with sage magic could pass all the way through the body, disrupting its target's life force. It didn't have to be a critical hit, just enough to give everyone else the time that they needed.
Zenobia, now!
With the Prez's next instruction, Zenobia braced herself with her twin blades.
I'm still raring to go.
She cried, voice echoing, just as she'd done against Theodora's Familia. Zenobia poured her aura into a huge wave of energy, sending it racing towards Fenrir's spawn. The junior Fenrir was completely enveloped by that last attack. By the time the wave passed, it had inflicted 2 deep wounds, but still, the creature had yet to fall. Even that wasn't enough. Try this! Kiba summoned a trap of holy demon swords around the child Fenrir's feet, temporarily pinning it in place. Next, he flew towards him like a streak of lightning, cleaving through the monster's body. Akeno followed suit, bringing down a hail of lightning. Our familiar was stronger than that junior Fenrir.
How about this?
Tanin let fly a high-powered burst of flame right into one of the Midgardsormr copies, a short distance away. A burning sea surged through the maw and flooded the quarry. The serpent dragon writhed in pain among the flames. That was to be expected from the fire of a former Dragon King. Before long, the Midgardsormr copy had been reduced to ash.
Again.
Tanin let out a deep breath before releasing an oversized ball of flame from his mouth towards another one of the mass-produced dragons. The blast was so powerful it blew a huge crater into the ground. Incredible! Those Dragon King copies stood no chance against the real thing. Tanin was amazing. But Fenrir was impossibly strong too.
No, you don't.
Rosvice activated a Nordic spell circle to back up Tanin. Magic bullets rained down from above, tearing through the amassed enemies. That strike certainly looked to have dealt considerable damage to Midgardsormr copies. That Valkyrie was impressive.
Recovery, and for you as well.
Ozzy was sending out her healing aura to all of us who got hurt. Her powers helped us keep fighting along after we were otherwise done for. However, she was healing one person after another without end. It was clear from her expression that she was growing weary. On top of that, she knew any one of us could die if not for her healing ability, undoubtedly adding immense psychological pressure. Nonetheless, we needed her sacred gear to keep going. The Phoenix Tears that we had brought with us wouldn't be enough to restore all the injuries we were sustaining. You can do it, Azia. If you find yourself in danger, I'll be there to help you. Team Vali was focused on the child Fenrir and looked to be having a similar degree of success. Hey! Biko lashed out with his Neobow, striking the creature again and again. Extend! Biko's staff stretched out to a ridiculous length, slamming hard against the child Fenrir's head.
Slow down a little.
Next, Kurako used some kind of technique to turn the ground into the creature's feet into mud. Unable to move, the junior Fenrir found himself at the mercy of Arthur's holy kingsword.
Perhaps I'll take one of your eyes first.
The holy kingsword gouged the creature's left eye right out of his socket.
Next, your claws.
He went on to carve through the creature's front paw. Trust me when I say it was a terribly cruel attack. And it was made more horrifying when he did it with such a dispassionate face.
And now for those dangerous fangs. Calibrand is more than capable of obliterating a measly spawn of Fenrir.
The holy kingsword passed through the air, slicing away the monster's teeth. As was expected, the child Fenrir let out an agonizing shriek at the loss of his eye, claws, and fangs. So, these three were Vali's allies. They're strong. Even if their opponent was a child compared to the adult Fenrir, the way they dispatched him so handily was abnormal. And the three of them didn't even appear to be exerting themselves. More impressively still, they were continuing to carry out the designated objectives even when their leader, Vali, was in dire trouble. Our familiar would never be able to do that.
Ise Hyodo.
That was Vali. Though still trapped between Fenrir's fangs, he was still calling out to me. It was painful just to look at him.
I'll leave Loki to the rest of you, Biko and the others.
He can't mean... I thought in disbelief.
I will destroy this parent Fenrir,
he added. At that, Loki broke into laughter.
How exactly? White Dragon Emperor, you are all but already dead.
Do you intend to degrade your name more than you already have? Don't you dare mock Vali Lucifer, one of the two heavenly dragons. Whoa. Vali glared at Loki with such cold intensity that I felt unnerved. The next moment, he started muttering something under his breath, and a divine aura slowly began to bleed from his armor in every color of the rainbow. I have awakened. Destroy them all. Voices that didn't belong to Vali echoed throughout the quarry. This must have been the lingering resentments of the previous White Dragon Emperors who had laid dormant within his sacred gear. I couldn't believe this is what those curses sounded like. It was only now, when I saw them for myself, did I fully realize that I've been trying to talk to entities of pure darkness in the sea of reason. My quest for domination stole everything away from me, and rendered me thus a heavenly dragon. The dream is over. The illusion has begun. I envy the infinite. Dwell on the illusion. Give me everything. I am the White Dragon Dynast, and I shall lead you into a sterile infinity. Juggernaut Drive! An immense light filled the entire abandoned quarry, spilling from Fenrir's mouth and swallowing the wolf himself. The power was so immense that I couldn't properly measure it at all. My senses were practically paralyzed. This was... Kuroga, teleport Fenrir and me to the place, exclaimed Vali, still glowing brilliantly. In response, Kuroga flashed Vali a broad grin, arching her hand towards him and twisting her fingers through the air. When I looked carefully, I saw Vali's armor was gradually transforming. Is this due to the Juggernaut Drive? So this is what happened to me. Suddenly, I realized that the enchanted chain that was supposed to have captured Fenrir had been transported with Vali too. That must have been what Kuroga was doing. In his current state, Vali had a good chance of succeeding with Gleipnir. Countless layers of magic energy wrapped around Vali and Fenrir, who was encased in a giant mass of light. Before long, the two of them had melted into night scenery, completely vanishing. Vali! I shouted, but there was no response. It was my first time witnessing a Juggernaut Drive for myself, but there was no mistaking it. That bastard Vali had initiated it for himself. Was he hoping to take Fenrir somewhere far from the battlefield by brute force? And what was that place he had mentioned? Had I been right all along? Was he really up to something else entirely? No, that couldn't be it. Vali probably wanted to settle somewhere removed from the rest of us. Perhaps he schemed as much beforehand. According to Azazel, Vali was capable of using his Juggernaut Drive for short periods of time by feeding his demonic energy into his sacred gear in place of his life force. Even so, he still couldn't wield it freely. It would probably take very little to make him go berserk. The Juggernaut Drive could very well consume him, just like it had me. An abrupt scream brought me back to the battle around me. Akeno! It was the Prez. I spun around and saw Akeno about to be mauled by the junior Fenrir. Don't you even dare! No way was I going to let that monster hurt her. My beloved great lady, my dearest Akeno. I glanced at Loki and set my propulsion unit on my back to maximum. Both my dragon wings had already fully expanded. Jet! The voice of the jewels embedded in my armor rang out as I approached my target. Swift as it was, I still wasn't going to make it, but I had to. You're riddled with openings. Loki fired off another magical attack my way. Thankfully, a huge fireball and a burst of light had caught the projectile before it struck me.
I don't think so.
That's right. It was Tannin and Rosvice. After offering them a word of mental gratitude, I scanned the area and realized only one Midgard Summer copy remained. Tannin and Rosvice still appeared raring to go. The two of them had practically annihilated those replica Dragon Kings. This wasn't the time to focus on them, however, because the worst thing I could possibly imagine was about to play out directly in front of me. The child Fenrir's fangs poured down on Akeno. There came a dull sound of fangs rending meat. However, the one who caught the blow wasn't Akeno, but Barkil. The fallen angel had thrown himself in harm's way to protect his daughter, and the child fanger's fangs had torn clean through his back. Blood poured out from the man's mouth and wounds. Stunned, Akeno asked,
Why?
"Because I don't want to lose you too," Barkyo managed weakly. Akeno's expression had told me that she didn't know what to make of all of this. "Hey!" I slammed my fist into the child finger from the side, forcing him to release the fallen angel and jump backwards. "Azia!" I called out. Within a split second, the former nun sent a pale green light towards Barkyo. As the glow washed over him, his wound slowly healed. It was enough to stanch the bleeding, but he was still in no shape to keep fighting. Barkyo probably just had lost as much energy as he had blood, and he had been trained a lot of the latter. Visibly upset, Akeno could only stammer out,
I...
"Calm down, Akeno. The battle isn't over yet," Barkyo instructed, voice still frail. "Akeno, please don't cry. It's okay, I'll protect you. There was something I had to know. Did she really hate her father? I had to make sure." I subtly activated boob lingual and asked Akeno's breast to shed light on that deep-held secret. "Hey, Akeno's breasts, can you hear me? Does Akeno truly resent Barkyo?" Her boobs didn't give an answer. Had my technique failed? Or was Akeno so shocked that her breast had been left speechless? But then, a soft voice rang up.
I'm not Akeno Himajima's breasts. I'm a breast sprite.
"Huh? Who are you?" I shouted, startled and pointing at Akeno's chest. Akeno and Barkyo were even more shocked at my abrupt outburst.
Please stay calm. I'm speaking to you through this girl's breasts.
This was getting stranger by the second. Huh? What is this? Flabbergasted, I demanded. "No. Who are you? Answer me."
I am a sprite in the service of the god of breasts. Your unquenchable thirst for breasts summoned me here.
No way. My bootlingual technique had reached an altogether different recipient. Was such a thing possible? Tanin. The former Dragon King was embroiled in a battle with Loki, but this was a question that required his wisdom. "What's going on? Did something happen? More breasts?" He cried back impatiently in response to my panic voice. "Which religion does the god of breasts come from?" The old dragon seemed unable to muster a reply to my inquiry. For some reason, when I glanced around, my allies and opponents alike had all paused what they were doing, staring my way incredulously. A second passed, and Tanin caught up to the prez. "Lady Ries, you need to heal that dimwit's head. He suffered a critical blow." "No, I'm fine, you old geezer. There's nothing wrong with me."
Issei, hang in there. It's just an hallucination. You're hearing things. How could this have happened? Fenrir's poison is affecting his mind.
The press had the wrong idea, too. See, she seemed to think that my brain was malfunctioning, but Fenrir's fangs hadn't even scratched me. A warm glow wrapped around my head. "Thank you, Azia, but I'm fine. This doesn't require your attention." "You've got the wrong idea. Akeno's breast just said there's some breast sprite." As I tried to explain, Barkyo shouted me down, clearly furious. You would accuse my daughter of something so incomprehensible, obscene. You accursed breast dragon." He was totally incensed. Fierce waves of holy lightning were literally coursing through his body. Azia's healing aura wrapped around my head once more. Thanks again, Azia, but really, I'm fine. No, listen, everyone. Drake spoke up. "I can hear the voice of the breast sprite too. From what I can sense, it hails from an unknown plane of existence. I'm sorry it's come to this.
but my host looks to have attracted a messenger of a god from another world.
Yes, thanks, partner. I knew I could rely on you. That's insane. Impossible. Drake has gone crazy too. No, now they aren't willing to believe in the dragon either.
No one trusts me, all because of you, breast dragon. I haven't done anything wrong, partner. Partner!
Drake was in tears. It felt like I've been making him cry a lot lately. I needed to apologize to him at some point. This time, I could feel Ozzy's aura coursing through the jewels of my armor. Ozzy, I'm fully healed here. My HP is at max. Do I still look like I need more? Hey, Switch Princess, go and let him hit your knockers. He needs them, you know. Pico said to Deprez. Right. Maybe I should. I had been sure that Deprez would come out with some sort of complaint in response to that. But had Pico truly convinced her? Listen to me, Breast Dragon Emperor. Akeno's breast called me. And they had just addressed me as the Breast Dragon Emperor. Damn it. Where had they learned that name? You must give your ear to the thoughts of the Shrine Maiden and summon the powers within the God of Breasts. What now? I didn't quite follow, but whatever that was supposed to mean, it did sound impressive. The God of Breasts is merciful and grants divine protection to those who seek boobs. Nope, none of this was adding up. I did wish to hear Akeno's honest feelings, however. In that case, Sprite, can you share her feelings with only me, Barkyo, and Akeno herself? Very well. Listen carefully to her innermost feelings. When I closed my eyes, a scene appeared in the back of my mind. I could hear a voice of a young girl singing. Where do you live, friend? Where are you? Wherein he go? Where are you? She was in the courtyard of a single-story house, bouncing a ball and singing a nursery rhyme to herself. Akeno, are you there? A woman who looked identical to Akeno called out to the young girl. Mama! Akeno said happily upon seeing her mother, running over to embrace her. The woman had silky black hair and looked like a particularly warm and kind individual. She had a beautiful look to her, but also one that seemed somehow fleeting. Mama, will Papa come home today? Dear me, Akeno, are you planning to go somewhere together? Akeno flashed her mother a joyous smile at this question. If he comes home soon, we're going to take the bus and go shopping. I was so lonely. That was Akeno's voice. I realized the scene had changed. Now Barker was helping a young Akeno take a bath. I don't hate your wings, Papa. They're black, but they're so soft and pretty, just like my hair. Is that right? Thank you, Akeno. All I wanted was for him to always be there with us. Akeno's mother was braiding her daughter's hair on the veranda outside the house. Hey, Mama, does Papa really like me? Of course he does. The woman smiled as she gently tied back her daughter's locks. I wasn't able to see him as often as I wanted. The vision took another shift. Now the room was in tatters. Furniture had been knocked carelessly to the floor, and the tatami mats had gruesome tears in them, and the table had been upended, scattering the remains of the evening meal across the floor. It was a complete mess.
Hand over that child, that spawn of a wicked, black-hearted fallen angel.
A group of what looked like shamanistic practitioners had surrounded Akeno and her mother. You can't have her. She's my daughter. She's too important and precious. And he loves her too. I won't let you take her. Akeno's mother shouted, shielding the child. You have allowed a fallen angel to defile you. You leave us no choice. One of the shamans pulled out a katana and brought it down. The next vision was Barkio stained in crimson. The blood belonged to the shamans. He had killed them all.
Mama, no, Mama.
A sobbing and distraught Akeno was trying to ruse her fallen mother. Shuri. Barkio reached out to his wife, his hands trembling.
Don't touch her.
Akeno shrieked, batting her father's hand away.
Why didn't you stay here with us? We were always waiting for you, Papa. Always. You said that you were coming home early today. You said that you were taking the day off. If you were here, Mama wouldn't have died. I heard what they said, that you're a black-hearted fallen angel and evil. They said you fallen angels are bad people, and that I'm bad too, because I have black wings as well. If you and I didn't have these black wings, Mama wouldn't be dead. I hate them. I hate everything. You, these wings, everyone. I hate them all. I knew it wasn't my father's fault, but if I didn't try to tell myself that it was, I wouldn't be able to keep on going. Because I'm weak and lonely. All I wanted was for us to live together. The three of us.
I could hear the voice of Akeno's mother within my head.
Akeno.
It was an unmistakably kind and gentle voice.
Whatever happens, you must believe in your father. It's true that he may have hurt a great many people in the past, and yet...
Perhaps it was an illusion. Nonetheless, I could see her clearly. Akeno's mother was gently embracing her daughter, and Barkio.
And yet, he most definitely loves you and me. So, Akeno, please make sure that you love him back.
When I regained consciousness, Akeno was sitting beside me, bawling her eyes out.
Mother, I wanted to see Father more. I wanted him to pat me on the head. I wanted to go play with him. Father, Mother, I wanted us to all live together, the three of us, to spend more time together.
These were Akeno's true feelings, which had remained hidden to her till now. It looked like visions I glimpsed had also played out for Akeno and Barkio. Barkio was laying on his side after having heard Akeno's confession. Not a day went by when I didn't think about Shuri and you. He assured softly, reaching out to Akeno with a trembling hand. Akeno took that hand in her own.
Father.
That was when it happened. Every jewel embedded in my dragon armor scale mail burst with light, as did the Mjolnir replica. Whatever it was incredibly powerful.
Breast Dragon Emperor, can you hear me? Breast Dragon Emperor.
It was the voice of the breast sprite, speaking to me through Akeno's chest.
You have saved this girl's feelings, and her breast too. As thanks, the god of breasts grants you divine protection.
A massive quantity of energy erupted at every part of my armor.
Be careful, Breast Dragon Emperor. The power of the god of breasts can be only used once.
Whatever was going on, if this sprite and its god was granting me a special power-up, I would happily take it. The power surging within the Mjolnir replica was beyond anything I've ever sensed before. It was far greater than Vali's power or mine. I sense an unfamiliar god-class power. A god of breasts from another world. This Red Dragon Emperor incarnation is full of surprises. Loki said as he removed his cloak, enlarging his shadow. From that shadow, another 5 of those mass-produced Midgardsimmer copies emerged. How could have there been more of them? This was already a seriously deadly battle. There was no end to it. Who would have thought that it would be this hard to fight against a single god and his subordinates? Was there no end to the army of junior Fenrir's and fake Dragon Kings? Our supply of Phoenix Tears wouldn't be able to keep up, nor would Ozzy's healing power. Suddenly, a dark shroud raced past me. A black flame-like substance snaked across the ground, swelling and wrapping around Loki, the two child Fenrir's, and the new Midgardsimer copies. What is it this time? A god of asses? That jet black aura. Is that Veritra, the prison dragon? Veritra? Saji? Now that I stopped to think about it, it did look like Saji's aura, but he'd never had any kind of fire abilities. A huge magic circle appeared on the ground, and from its center, Iban flames in the shape of a dragon began to emerge.
Ise Hyodo, can you hear me? This is Shemhazai, the Lieutenant Governor of the Grigory.
An unfamiliar voice sounded in the earpiece I was wearing for emergency communication. It was one of Azazel's colleagues. Hi. Are you the one that sent this black dragon here?
Yes. Azazel asked me to send him along once we were done with his training.
So, that really is Saji. Whoa. He had become a literal flame dragon, and a pitch black one no less.
Yes. It seems that Azazel has made a slight miscalculation. We began his training, but he ended up in the state. We're out of time, so we decided to send him into battle as is. It does appear that he can't quite distinguish between friend and foe at the moment, however.
Was that really okay? These fallen angels are quite reckless sometimes. What did you do exactly? I questioned.
We gave him all of Veritra's sacred gears.
That sounded extremely negligent. All I could do was try to compel my lips into adopting a forced smile.
When Veritra was subdued long ago, his soul was divided into numerous sacred gears. Because of that, there are many Veritra-type sacred gear hosts. Nonetheless, all of their sacred gears belong to the four categories: Absorption Line, Blaze Black Flare, Delete Field, or Shadow Prison. These sacred gears were hidden in each of their hosts with some differences in specifications. Our organization, Grigory, has collected several of them, and so we installed them into Saji. His previous contact with you already roused Veritra's consciousness. So, Azazel predicted that integrating the sacred gears together could make him fully emerge.
So, that's why Azazel had taken him.
We succeeded in combining those sacred gears, and indeed, in reviving Veritra's mind too. Unfortunately, he immediately went out of control when we did so. The good news is that Saji's own consciousness appears to be intact. So, if you speak to him through Drake, you should be able to reach him. The rest is up to you. Can you do it?
Sure, I'll try. If worst comes to worst, I'll do my best to stop him. Saji, or rather, the black flames of Veritra, had completely enveloped Loki and his minions, keeping them locked in place. The blaze fluttered as if it had a mind of its own, a coiling, serpent-like shape writhing around its prey. Gah, what is this fire? I can't move. It's draining my energy. Is this the Black Dragon? I've heard of the old Dragon King who specializes in manipulating flame. But could this truly be him? Loki was thrashing around, his expression fraught in obvious terror. The junior Fenrir's and the Midgardsimer copies were equally unnerved, flailing wildly as they tried to escape.
Veritra has always been capable of more than direct attacks. He might be the weakest of all Dragon Kings, but in terms of diversity and techniques, he is unmatched.
Whoa. Lieutenant Governor, if there are other Veritra Sacred Gears, can we make more fighters like this?
The likelihood of that is close to zero. To begin with, combining sacred gears is a dangerous thing to attempt. If anything were to go wrong, the recipient would all but certainly die. This was a special case. You and Saji are friends, and understand each other exceptionally well. That played a part in restoring Veritra's consciousness. It would be extremely difficult to repeat that process. Just so you know, adding new powers to him hasn't changed his evil piece. His primary technique remains the absorption line. His base stats shouldn't be too affected either.
So, this was something only Saji could pull off. This Viridra power of his certainly looked formidable. In any event, Saji wouldn't be able to maintain his power for long. Defeat your enemies while they're still immobilized, stated Shimhazai. Got it. Yeah, alright then. Let's settle this. I wrapped my hand around the Mjolnir, enlarging it to the size of a giant hammer. It was so light this time. Right, it was supposed to feel as light as a feather, and it did. Prez, Biko, the Chow Fingers can't move through those flames. Let's finish them off now. The two of them, no, everyone else too, nodded in agreement and launched into a fresh wave of attacks against the Chow Fingers and the Midgardsimer copies. I will defeat all of Odin's enemies. Rosvise, too, deployed a wall of magic circles around her, unleashing a fresh projectile attacks in all directions. Those projectiles came crashing down on the immobile Chow Fingers and the Midgardsimer copies, dealing massive damage. Because Saji was absorbing their powers, they were gradually weakening. Saji, can you hear me? I asked, trying to reach out to him inside that black, fiery dragon through my sacred gear. A response. Saji, it's me, Issei. Hyodo. What's happening to me? I feel so hot right now I can melt. You need to hold on. Assert your will. You made a really cool entrance a minute ago, so keep going until you finish the job, and then you can go down. What should I do? What can you see around yourself? I'm surrounded by black flames, and there's a huge wolf and a bunch of dragons too. Keep them tied down. Concentrate on that. Anyway, you need to focus your thoughts. Can you see any human-sized enemies? Yeah. I don't know how to explain it, but I could sense some unknown magical power in him, and he's trying to use it to extinguish the flames. That's the boss. Don't let him put out your flames. Focus your thoughts and hold him down. I'll do the rest. I'll finish this. I tightened my grip around the hammer. This time, there was lightning running through it. I wouldn't miss. I'm going to pummel that jerk.
Jet!
I set the propulsion unit on my back to maximum, unfurled my dragon wings, and shot straight towards Loki. Loki, in turn, unleashed a magical attack from the palm of his hand. There could be no dodging it now. Part of me wanted to use the hammer as a shield, but if I ended up draining his power that way, this would have all been for nothing. I met Loki's attack head on. It hurt. The blow dealt severe damage to my armor. The blast even penetrated my suit and reached my body. My chest, my gut, my hips, my legs. Everything was filled with severe jolt of pain. The last one even scored a direct hit on my helmet. I wasn't going to have any time to restore my scale mail or heal my injuries. I would have to just push forward. Loki broke free from Saji's fiery snare. Uh-oh, he may have been rotten, but he was definitely a deity. Did you think that this would be enough to hold down the great god Loki? He bellowed, soaring up into the sky. He was trying to run away. Stop right there, I shouted. Loki, however, merely laughed at me. It's futile, Red Dragon Emperor. I will withdraw. Know this. I will make my third entrance and usher in new chaos. A surge of lightning and thunder burst forth, completely ensnaring Loki as he gloated. I hurriedly turned and saw Akeno and Bargil with their hands outstretched. Both of them were flying with the characteristic black wings of the fallen angels. Ha! Incredible. A father and daughter joint attack, with holy lightning no less. What? Loki plummeted to the ground, smoke rising up from his charred limbs. It didn't look like he'd taken much damage, but at least he hadn't escaped. Saji's Iban fire wound around Loki once more. Good timing, Saji. Impossible! I destroyed your measly barrier! Loki was clearly taken aback by this, but Saji's strength of will here was on the same level as mine. He wasn't about to give up easily. Do it, Hyodo! Right, leave it to me, Saji, I thought confidently. Then, I set my sights on my target and steadied my aim before lifting a hammer aloft. Take this, a Hyodo-style Mjolnir! I I drove the head of the huge hammer down on Loki's body. Now! Let's do this, Drake! I shouted at the top of my lungs.
Ready. Boost, 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 boost. Transfer.
I sent all my power accumulated in my body into the Mjolnir replica. Immediately, an unbelievable amount of lightning and thunder erupted from the weapon. An overwhelmingly explosive attack collided directly with Loki. The battered god collapsed to the ground, plumes of gray vapor streaming from him. Is this why the biblical god created balance breakers? So-called Longinuses, capable of slaying the divine? Did he foresee an event like this? Why else would he leave humans with the means to destroy their betters? With those final words, Loki lost consciousness. At the same moment, the two child farriers and the Midgardsimer copies were similarly defeated. Excellent work, Breast Dragon Emperor. I look forward to meeting you again one day. The voice of the breast sprite was fading away. Had it completed its task? Hold on. What had its task actually been in the first place? It looked like I had come into contact with yet more than new unfamiliar beings. I had wanted to grow stronger in my own way, but I was growing tired of all of this. I needed a break. I silently thought as much of the god of breasts, who dwelled in some other world. Yo, Saji, I said, trying to wake up my friend, who was lying unconscious in the middle of the battlefield. He had already reverted into his original form. What? Hyodo, the fight. It looked like he was awake, but still couldn't move his body. I caught Ozzy over and asked her to tend to him. When Saji was able to sit upright, I informed him. It's over. A lot happened, but we won. Saji flashed me a forced smile. I see. I don't really remember much of it. But I heard your voice. I was happy. It was so painful. I felt like my whole body was on fire. When I heard you, it felt reassuring. Leave it to me. But don't go on another rampage like that, okay? Seriously? I went on a rampage. Me? Yeah, completely berserk. Still, it's why we won. Your support technique was amazing. Hearing this, Saji looked relieved. I suppose it's alright then. However... Saji glanced around at the aftermath. The abandoned quarry was in ruins. There were craters everywhere that clearly hadn't been there before. It looked like a war zone. Everyone else was overjoyed at our victory. Zenobia and Aeronut looked exhausted, and were sitting together on the ground. Team Vali were nowhere to be seen. They had left before any of us noticed, which was typical of them. Vali hadn't returned either. Had he won? I didn't think he was dead, and yet... With the overwhelmed Loki held captive, Rosvice made sure to bind him several times over with some sort of Norse magic. The Mjolnir hammer may have been a replica, but even so, it had been inordinately powerful. I boosted the strength several times over, but in the end, it had defeated a god. Stuff like this is becoming pretty standard for you, huh? Fighting gods, demon kings, heavenly dragons, you name it. Saji said with admiration. Well, the Grimmer family has been through a lot. I've heard some people say that they're drawn to powers of the Red Dragon Emperor. But seriously, I've been so close to death more times than I can count now. It had basically been a constant life or death struggle ever since I've become a demon. How had I wound up facing one legendary being after another? No matter how many lives I had, they would run out eventually. That's what I mean. You're amazing. I was so scared that Azazel sent me to do special training. I couldn't stop shaking, and all I wanted was to go home. Yet, if I ran away, I'd never be able to show my face to the chairwoman or the others again. I'm in a similar situation. Honestly, I'm terrified most of the time. But I don't have any other choice. I have to keep going. It looks like the road to becoming a harem king will be a bumpy one. So all I can do is push through every obstacle that gets in my way, making my dreams come true and protecting what's dear to me. means I need to learn how to make full use of everything the Red Dragon Emperor can offer, no matter what. Saji flashed me a rueful grin. I'm no match for you, you lecherous pervert. Wearing a beautiful smile, Azia declared. All healed. Saji, it seemed, went back to normal. Azia, see to the others first. You can leave me for last, I said to her. Reluctantly, she accepted. All right, I understand, but don't do anything silly. Make sure you get some rest. Then she hurried over to the others. Issei. The press was calling for me, but she was staring at Akeno. Akeno was trying to help Barkyo to his feet. Azia had already healed his physical wounds, but he must have exhausted himself fighting. His injuries were closed, but he had lost a lot of blood. Barkyo's burly frame was too much for her daughter to support on her own. I understood intuitively what the press was trying to tell me. I'm on it. I rushed to join Akeno and Barkyo, silently lending a shoulder to the fallen angel. No. Issei Hyodo. Barkyo looked surprised that I would aid him. He had definitely been about to call me the Breast Dragon Emperor, but I didn't really mind. Just so you know, I don't feed off of breasts, I stated with a wry grin. Right. Perhaps it was my imagination, but Barkyo looked embarrassed. I guess even a stoic guy like him could blush every now and then. My daughter, Akeno, do you care for her? The weak and fallen angel asked. Yes, I love her. She's trustworthy and kind, I answered without hesitation. It looked like Barkyo was pleased to hear my reply, but it was hard to know for certain. Akeno, still beneath her father's arm, turned red. Faced with such a cute reaction, I probably would end up blushing before long. I see, Barkyo muttered. His voice sounded surprisingly content. We helped him to a transportation circle and sent him to rejoin his allies, who had been offering logistical support remotely.
Now then, Issei Hyodo. You can still move, I assume. It's time to clean up this mess. We need to restore this whole area.
Tanin said, recruiting me into assisting him with this thankless task. And so, I worked until dawn trying to fill up the craters Vali had left, littered across the quarry. Damn it, Vali, where did you go? So, those two were the Red Dragon Emperor and the White Dragon Emperor. And we've confirmed the presence of Viritra and the Holy King's Sword. Viritra entered a birth state, although it was achieved via heretofore-seen approach. And as for our information suggested, the Holy King's Sword is irregular as well. We were right to observe them. This seems to confirm the technology of the department's theory, that Sacred Gear hosts who come into contact with either the Red or White Dragon Emperor have a high likelihood of undergoing an irregular awakening. That Gregory technology also poses a threat. Have you found a way to overcome their juggernaut drives? I believe that they're able to counter them by using a Sacred Gear that accelerates the rate of the target energy consumption. We could use it to exhaust their demonic powers or their life force. The problem is the Red Dragon Emperor. Based on our information, he labors to develop an alternate method of accessing his juggernaut drive. He may be trying to delve into a submerged consciousness of the Longinus. The White Dragon Emperor could attempt something similar before long as well. I've just received a message from Cao Cao. I see.
What is it? Don't tell me.
Yes, we located the Dragon Eater. With this, we can bring an end to their so-called infinity. I may have not used it for a while, but I managed to weather my juggernaut drive. All the same, I would like to limit how many times I have to use it, if possible. I'll burn myself out at this rate. How did things go on your end, Arthur? We may not be able to manage Fenrir with the Master Excalibur. However, the bonds will considerably limit his total strength.
I can understand your interest in that creature's fangs, but you certainly have some odd ideas. I never let such a dangerous beast join our ranks.
Vali, we've got a word from Sao Sao.
What does he want now, Bigo?
Basically, he's saying that they're going it alone and telling us not to get in their way.
Sao Sao, let us pray we don't meet again. We won't hold back if you come after us.
That Issei Hyodo sure is a blast, huh? Who would have guessed he got a god from another world to cover his back? At the rate he's growing, he'll smash all the records faster than you could say go.
Brass Dragon. For such an absurd title, it won't be long before he's no laughing matter.
I'm sorry I can't say this in person, but it seems you're responsible for saving my family again, Azazel. Don't worry about it, but you know, Sir Zex, it was a rough ride this time.
It sounds like your breast dragon saved the day again.
Yep, that Issei is just brimming with weird powers. Just who was that god of breath supposed to be? And are you sure it's alright not to mention that other matter to him?
You're referring to his promotion, I assume?
Issei's, Kiba's, and Akeno's names were all brought up.
Indeed. We've weathered Kokubil's attacks, the terrorist assault during the peace conference between the three great powers, and the one on the day of the party that the other Demon Kings and I held in the underworld. Most recently, there was that trouble with the old demon regime. Every one of them was a major issue, and each time, Rias and her familia stepped up to stop the threat. They've earned their promotions and then some, and now that they added Loki's capture, their advancement is all but guaranteed.
Well, their accomplishments are top of the class, especially given how accustomed to peace most other demons have become. Issei is popular in the underworld as the Red Dragon Emperor, Akeno is Barkiel's daughter, and Kiba can generate irregular holy demon swords. They're all distinguished, promising individuals. As far as power is concerned, they're already a level of high-class demons. And it's still too soon. Issei, in particular, has only been a demon for the past 6 months. If we promote him immediately, it'll draw our enemies' eyes. Personally, I'd like him to develop his strength more before he moved up a rank. I think he needs to wait for 5, actually, maybe 3 years. Unfortunately, public opinion is pushing for it to be now. It must be hard being a Demon King. So, what are your overall feelings then?
There's no question that he deserves a promotion. He would need to carry a title of some kind if he is to continue my lineage with my sister and her familia, however. The old demon families are very particular on that. But not only is he still too young, it's also still too soon. I would like him to remain the best dragon for a while yet. That makes sense. We should probably keep observing his progress then. Still, I don't think we're gonna have to wait long. Yes, I suspect not. Issei has his sights set on becoming a harem king, and he's working to pull off one achievement after another to make that dream a reality. Although, when he's promoted, the question is what he would do from there. That will be his true debut as a demon. And then, there's the issue of the hero faction. Have you learned anything? The Sacred Gear hosts who we captured have all met unnatural deaths. All of them? Yeah, Ophis' serpents seem to be the cause. So, we were right. They all took them. No, these ones are different. The hosts themselves didn't consume them. This new type coils around the Sacred Gear. From what we discerned, they're designed to stimulate the Sacred Gears themselves. And in all likelihood, they function to forcibly maximize the potential, not of the human hosts, but of the Sacred Gears and their innate powers.
The end result isn't a boosted attack power. Instead, it's a trigger to unlock one's balance breaker. Naturally, it's a delicate and dangerous process. Even if there's a tiny slip-up, the sacred gear is eradicated. Even so, they've been running those experiments practically non-stop. I tried examining the leftover serpents, but they've been designed to stop functioning once their host dies or unlocks their balance breaker. It's a brutal tactic, but their balance breakers will outnumber ours significantly if it continues. So, this all adds up to more balance breaker users in the ranks. If a sacred gear breaks, its user dies too. I can't believe they truly don't mind sacrificing their own people if it means unlocking a few extra balance breakers. The sudden influx of new balance breakers is worrisome enough on its own, but we need to be more wary of is the birth of the unknown Longinus. This is going to get messy. We need to take countermeasures against sacred gears. Now that you mention it, the most troublesome enemies will be those with unique, aberrant abilities. If all we are talking about are simple power-ups, it wouldn't be too much of a problem. There are a lot of techniques that could easily surpass power-type fighters. Sacred gears might make for interesting research, but they're capable of terrifying feats. God's parting gift, I suppose you could call them. We've been relying on them for a while without pushing them any farther than their base potential. But this may prove to be a mighty obstacle